It is I, Nicole Royal, your host of Table for Us podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for another episode. And if you're new here, go ahead and pull up a seat to the table. But before we get into our episode for today, I want to give all glory and honor to God. He blesses me with the gifts that I have, and I am so grateful and thankful for my journey and my life story that I'm able to share with other people to motivate and encourage. Let's give him all the praise and the glory. And then also, if you are someone who is interested in starting your own podcast and you're not sure where to start or how to start, I host my podcast on Podbean. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I leave the information below. So go ahead and click that link below on how to get started with your podcast. Okay. So that is where I host my podcast. And then I use Descript. Now, there are so many different platforms and so forth out there as far as recording, editing, and hosting platforms. So definitely do your research. But for me, I use Descript to edit my episodes and get them all out there to you guys. All right. So today, okay, we are going to be talking about red flags. All right. And again, this is raw and uncut. Everything that I talk about is my own personal experiences. So what I go through is not what everybody else go through. What other people see is not what I see, and vice versa. So these are always my own personal life experiences and how I dealt with something or went through something. Okay. So we're going to talk about red flags. I'm going to be honest here, right? Because this is raw and uncut. This is the table, and we come in to talk about certain stuff. Now, I know I am not the only person who has seen red flags in a person, whether it is a relationship, a friendship, or whatever, and we chose to ignore them. Okay. So we're going to basically be diving into what red flags are, how to recognize those, and also talk about stop ignoring them. They're not going to go nowhere. In most cases, they're not going to go anywhere. Okay. So for me, when it came to red flags, I will say that the red flags that I saw in my past relationships, we're going to talk about that. And then I'll get into, because I also mentioned friendships and so forth. I saw them as potential. And what I mean by that is I didn't see them as red flags. I saw it as, oh, okay, this is temporary right now. They'll change later, or I see potential in them to be better or different. Okay. And literally, red flags could be so many different things. It could be, and people, now let me tell you this. People, man or woman, can only pretend for so long before their true colors start to show. All right. Now, how long that is depends on the person. Some people start to believe the lies that they tell. So they continue to pretend to be someone else. And it's up to you as the individual that's dealing with that person, whether it's in a relationship or friendship, to accept who it is that they are giving you, or to have that discernment to be able to determine, okay, what's real versus what's not real. Okay. So for me, I'm trying to think of some red flags that I ignored. I ignored so many red flags. To me, I was like, it's not really red. It's actually pink. Or maybe it's more magenta than red, right? Don't do that to yourself. If it's a red flag, it's a red flag. Don't try to dilute it and say it's pink or it's something else. So let me see. What's a red flag? Or what was a red flag or whatever for me? Not having a job, I would say, is a big red flag. And no, actually, I'm lying. I will not say that, because in the economy that we live right now, it's hard out there to get jobs for everybody. But if a person has never had a job, right, they just lazy, or they got a bunch of excuses as to why they don't have a job, red flag. Okay. I feel like another red flag would be a grown man living with his mom or living with his baby mom. And let me tell you why. Now, again, I know that right now in the world that we live in right now, that times is hard for everybody. So sometimes you got to go live with a family member or a relative, right? But if you have not put in place a plan to get your own place, that's a red flag for me. Because what's going on here? Or if you live with your child's mother, that's a red flag. Now, that was my situation where I was on both ends. Okay. And I talk about that in another episode. And I chose to ignore that red flag when I was the person that was living with the man, and also the other way around when the person that I was with lived with their kid's mom. I believed the lies, basically. You have these red flags and we tend to ignore them because we really love or care about a person. And we'll tell ourselves that what they're telling us is okay or it's the truth, right? Whatever it is, oh, we're not together, blah, blah, blah. And like I said, I was a person on the other side where me and my children's father, we lived together. And honestly, we weren't together anymore, but we still lived together. And we had broken up, but decided to continue to stay together as a family on the outside. He would come in late. And when I say late, I'm talking about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So but before that, there was red flags that I chose to ignore. When I first got my place, he was comfortable with staying at home, living in his parents' home. And he wasn't ready to move out, but I pressured him into moving out before he was ready to move out. I can admit that. And I ignored the red flag of him being comfortable living at home with his parents. And at the time, we were so young, we were in our early 20s. So was that really a red flag then? Maybe not. But when you're in your 30s and 40s and you're living at home with your parents, there's a red flag. Okay. Another red flag would be not having a car. Now, let me break this down. Again, we live in an economy where stuff is so hard. Groceries, honestly, not even like being able to buy groceries is even hard because everything constantly keeps going up, the inflation and everything, right? So it's not a hard red flag. It's more like a in between pink and red type of flag because it depends on what your situation is. Like, is your credit horrible and you can't get a car? Or do you not have a license? Now, if you're grown and you don't have a driver's license, that's a red flag. Let's look into this. Like, what happened? Did your license get suspended for some reason? Or did you just never have a license? And I'm talking from my age group and where I'm at. Now, if you're younger, you're still growing, you're still figuring things out. So a lot of the things that I consider a red flag at my age may not actually be a red flag for the younger generation because they're still figuring their lives out. But for me, who is almost 50, if you don't have a license and you in your 40s and up, I'm gonna say I feel like 30s and up, that's a red flag. Okay. Another red flag would be inconsistency. And what I mean by that is what it is. Like, you're not consistent in your actions. You're not consistent in your words. You're not consistent in whatever that's going on in your life. Like, you're very inconsistent. That is a red flag. So if you call me one day and then the next day I don't hear from you, and then the next day I don't hear from you again, and then you call me again, or you're texting every day and then you stop texting, or you're being nice one day and you're not the next day. Now, granted, people have off days where they're tired, whatever the case may be, but you need to remain consistent in your communication, consistent in your actions. And if you're not, that's a red flag. Because now I need to evaluate you like a seesaw, you teeter-tottering. Okay. So that is a red flag. For me, avoidance is a red flag also. And what I mean by that is we are grown, we are adults, right? In my age that I'm in right now. And if you avoid a conversation because you don't want to have it turn into an argument or whatever, so you're just a yes ma'am or yes sir type of person, like you just go with whatever that person wants, right? So you just avoid certain topics. That's a red flag to me. Because do you not have a backbone? Do you not have the ability to have an adult conversation and let it be a conversation, or allow us to be able to agree to disagree? Because we're not going to always get along, right? That's just relationships. We're not going to always agree on certain things. So when you avoid certain topics or avoid What else could be an avoidance? Excuse me. Avoid, heck, moving to the next level, whatever that level is. Say we're friends, but now we want to move to being in a relationship and you avoid doing that for whatever the reason. That's a red flag, right? Another one would be manipulation. So I was in a relationship where my husband was verbally and mentally abusive. And that didn't happen after we got married. It happened before. So I ignored that red flag. And when we got married, it got worse. When you notice red flags in somebody and you ignore them, they get worse. Whether you're in a relationship, a friendship, a marriage. If you don't take care of those things in the beginning, they get worse. They fester. It's like an infection, right? With an infection, if you don't take care of it in the beginning, it just continues to get worse and it starts to spread, right? The same thing with red flags. I feel like those red flags eventually turn into fires, right? If you don't take care of them. For me, what happened is with those red flags that I chose to ignore, I feel like God shook things up for me. He let me, I wouldn't say he let me, but he was there with me when I went through certain stuff. And then he removed me from them situations, or he removed the people from my life because I couldn't make the decision on my own. I kept giving passes and saying in my mind, maybe in a year or two, they'll get better. Or maybe if I do this, then this will change things. Or maybe if I don't say anything, this will boil over and stuff like that. So I started to have avoidance. I stopped being who I was because I was trying to keep the peace in whatever it was, whether it was a friendship or it was in a relationship. If you have people who are constantly asking you for things, whatever that is, favors, money, that's a red flag. Because now one time, okay, 2 times, maybe. 3rd time, what's going on here? I'm not your bank. I'm not your errand runner. I'm not whatever it is. I'm not your enabler. Whatever it is that you're trying to constantly lean on me for, I'm not that. You got to stand on your own 2 feet. Everybody out here, we all adults. Everybody should be able to carry their own weight. And if you can't, then you need to do an evaluation of your life. Something is going on here. Maybe you done bit off more than you can chew. Maybe you living above your means. Whatever it is, when you become an enabler for other people, and even just there was this other guy that I was dating or talking to or whatever. He was how can I put this? He was like a Debbie Downer. Every time he called me, it was always something going wrong. It was always this woe is me type of conversation. And I noticed the red flag. I stayed a little longer than I probably should have, but I think we probably talked for maybe about 2 months, maybe 3. And I was just like, yeah, this is not for me. Nope. You got too much going on in your life. I think we met on a dating app, which pissed me off because if your life is not together, why are you out here on a dating app? I feel like people should stay single, not dating nobody until they get their life together. Then you can go out and date people, whatever, because now you're stable, whether it's your living situation, your car situation, your job situation, your mental situation, your health situation, whatever it is, get that stuff in order first before you be out here trying to date people. Now, I do recognize that we are imperfectly made. Nobody is perfect. Okay? No situation is perfect. So there was this saying where it's like you outweigh the good with the bad, and we got that 80-20 rule. And I think that 80-20 rule honestly applies to a marriage, a relationship, a friendship, a job, right? So if it's 80% good, then you just got to live with that 20% that's not, basically, right? But if it's 80% bad and you only got 20% there, you need to run. You need to sprint, right? Away from whatever it is, that job, that relationship, that friendship. Like, you need to hightail it up out of there. Because what happens is if you continue to ignore those red flags, not only are they going to get worse, but you waste your time. Your time is precious. Our time is precious on this earth. We get this one life, right? And if you believe in reincarnation, we'll come back, but it's not the same life. It's a different life, right? So you get this one life that you get to live. And why would you waste your time giving somebody all these chances when you see all the signs, all the red flags are there, right? It could be one red flag, it could be two, it could be three, whatever. Stop ignoring them, okay? Stop saying that there is this potential in a person. Now, I feel like you can evaluate the situation. Let's say this. Let me back up here. Some things can be potential. Some things are definitely red flags. You need to just hightail it up out of there. Now, if you can't figure out what's what, that's when you need to go to God and you need to pray about it and you need to ask God for discernment. Okay? And that is the ability to be able to see what's good versus what's bad, which way is right versus which way is wrong, which way you should go versus which way you shouldn't go, right? You ask God for the discernment to help you to be able to see that and make a clear decision, okay? Now, for me, when I was younger, I ignored a lot of red flags, but I also was very impulsive. Like, I didn't think about stuff. I would just do stuff, and then after the fact, be like, God. The first time I got married was very impulsive. But you want to take your time, right? When it becomes something major, like getting married or buying a house. Heck, buying a car is a major thing, right? So you want to take your time, but at the same time, don't take too much time. Make a clear, conscious decision on whatever it is you're doing, okay? But don't just jump in head first. Definitely look at the bigger picture. And what might be a red flag to me may not be a red flag to you, depending on where you're at as far as your age and your lifestyle and so forth. You might be someone who like projects. That's what I'll call them, because my past relationships were definitely projects. I was the one trying to build a man up because I saw potential in them, or I wanted to see potential in them. And instead of letting them build themselves up, I was constantly doing things for them. And it was almost like, I'm not a gambler, but slot machines. You sit there and you constantly feeding it the money and stuff, and you pulling that lever and you're like, all right, I'm a hit. That's the same thing as basically saying, I see potential in this person is going to be something one day. So I'm going to keep investing my time in them. I'm going to keep investing my money in them. I'm going to keep investing my emotions in them. I'm going to keep investing my body in them. And you just pulling that lever or whatever. And then before you know it, like 10, 15 years then pass and you're like, dang, all right, let me get up from this, if it's slot machine or whatever we want to call it. And then you walk away and guess what? Somebody else hit the jackpot. So in your mind, you're thinking, I don't want to do that. I don't want to warm up the slot, build this person up, whether it's a man or a woman. If you're a man and you're building up a woman, and then have somebody else reap the benefits of what I built up. I understand that mindset because I was there before. Don't let that type of mindset keep you in a situation longer than you should be in. Okay? Stop trying to see the potential in somebody and staying longer than you should stay. Look at all the other stuff that's not potential. Look at, again, that 80-20. Where we at with this 80-20, right? Is the potential part just the 20%? And the 80% is all the red flags? You really have to think about that. It was a couple of times I took a piece of paper, right? And I'm like, pro, cons. I'm a big pro and con person. I need to see stuff on paper for me to really get it in my head. I need to be able to actually read it and visualize it and see it to be like, yeah, that may not be good. And I do that with making decisions and so forth when it comes to like my life and my business. I'm always weighing out the pros and the cons when it comes to things. And we need to do the same thing when it comes to our relationships and our friendships. And I feel like it's okay to be selective and to be guarded. Some people will say, oh, then you're going to be by yourself for the rest of your life because, nobody's perfect and people come with flaws and all this stuff. And yeah, of course they do. But I feel like you should have your deal breakers. Maybe not just say, oh, we're not doing any of these red flags and nope, I'm not talking to you but have some deal breakers. If you see red flags, write down everything that's a red flag for you. Get you a piece of paper, write down bad teeth, bad breath, whatever your red flags are, right? Write those all down. And then once you get those all written down, go through your red flags. I say pick out 3 that are deal breakers, absolutely no nos for you. Okay. And you always keep those 3 in the back of your mind, right? And you say, okay, these other ones are livable or doable or whatever you want to call them. I could work through these other ones. But these 3, if you have any of these 3, oh, it's a definite deal breaker for me. Okay. Like no. Okay. So I would suggest doing that and really looking at the bigger picture when it comes to red flags. And then also, in addition to staying in something longer because you don't want to have somebody else benefit from that person because you feel like, oh, I see this potential. And if I leave them now, somebody else is going to benefit from that. Don't jump into something either and feel like, oh, I don't want to be lonely. So either I'm going to stay too long or I'm going to jump into something that I knew I shouldn't have been jumping into because I don't want to be by myself. One of the things that I have noticed since being single and by myself is that I actually enjoy it. This is the first time I've ever just been single to myself, by myself. And it's allowed me to be able to find out who I am. My first love, I was 15. We were high school sweethearts. So I went from 15 until I was about 24 before that relationship ended. And then my next relationship started a year or so later. From 25 to 29, we was off and on. It's and then you really don't know who you are without being in a relationship. You don't know who you are without living by yourself. You don't know who you are, period. So I feel like in addition to figuring out who you are, if you've been in some situations, some bad relationships, whatever, be by yourself for a little bit. Get that clarity to know what it is that you are okay with versus what you're not okay with. Because sometimes you never really know until you're in the situation because you haven't actually spent any time by yourself. Take some time to heal, really heal, whether that's therapy, church, whatever. Take some time to actually heal and be baggage free. So many people go into multiple relationships with baggage. That's not fair. Whether you're a woman or a man, stop going into these relationships with your baggage from your old relationship. Heal, unpack that before you go into another relationship. So that way you have on, I like to call it, my spectacles, right? I could see clear what's a red flag versus what's not a red flag, what I'm going to deal with versus what I'm not going to deal with. Okay. So I hope that you guys took something away from this episode as far as red flags, writing stuff down, doing an exercise, determining what your red flags are, what your deal breakers are, and really having that discernment to go to God with certain stuff that you can't decide. And maybe you not sure what a red flag is. Again, go to God. Ask him to show you. Ask him to make it clear. Because God is not the author of confusion. Okay? So if you're confused about something, that's the enemy. You need to run. You need to get away. Okay? It's nothing better than having that peace of mind in any situation that you're in. My thing that I love is having my peace. Being by myself is my peace. And at some point, I will have my person. But I have my list of what red flags are now and what I'm not going to ignore. And I have my deal breaker stuff so that I don't find myself in the same situations that I was in before. Hi, I'm Nicolette Royal, and I am the owner of NRO Company. So that is Nicolette Royal Original Company. That is what that stands for, NRO Company for short. And it is a print business. And I actually started this business. It's actually, oh my goodness, it's about to be 6 years that I started this business. I started this business with a dream. My grandmother used to teach me how to sew when I was little, and I went to a sewing class one time. My best friend had invited me to a sewing class at her She's in the mosque, and they were having a class, and she invited me to come, and I forgot how to sew. But in that class, what were we doing? We were working on a tote bag, and I was so amazed by the hands-on and everything, but it was almost like riding a bike, that everything that I remember my grandmother taught me just came flooding back in. So my children bought me this cute little, oh gosh, I don't have it here, but it was this cute little sewing machine. I named her Tabitha. And I just started using that and was like, I'm going to start making tote bags. I'm going to sell these tote bags. And eventually I got a bigger sewing machine, a working horse sewing machine. And what happened? The pandemic happened. So my shift from making tote bags shifted to actually making face masks. And I made a lot of money during that time. And then I ended up getting a cry cut machine. And that cry cut machine allowed me to customize these face masks. I would have a lot of people, once things start opening up, those face masks started becoming party favors for different people. And then I started doing t-shirts, and most of the t-shirts that I would do would be custom orders. So I would have people saying, hey, can you, because a lot of people started their own business. So they would say, hey, can you put my business logo on this shirt, or so forth. So I would do a lot of those, or I would have people coming to me and they would have parties and they wanted something special on the shirt. Or it might have been, I started doing bonnets, which actually that took me so much time, because I would actually hand make the bonnets, go get the fabric, cut it out, sew it, do all that good stuff, and then put whatever the person wanted on there. But it was so time consuming that I just couldn't do it anymore. My children used to help me initially with a lot of things, but as they start getting older, they started getting busy with their own things. So I had to figure out a way to keep my print business going without burning myself out. So I end up meeting or running across this young lady's page named Bougie Barbie on Instagram. She's actually, I believe she's retiring from digital products coming up soon. But I was able to get a couple of her courses and learn how to do print on demand. And basically what that was, I would sit there and design. So I used to go to Academy of Art College. So designing things and arts and all that was always a thing of mine. It was never something I wanted to go into full time, but it was just a gift that I had. So I started designing different things using Canva. And then through her, she introduced me to Printify. So I would then take my designs, put them on shirts, hoodies, bags, or whatever. And then I created an Etsy store. So all of my products are on Etsy. I will have my Etsy shop link below, and you can purchase whatever you want to purchase from my Etsy shop. Or if you're interested in starting your own print on demand business, I do have an ebook, and I will list my Stand Store link at the bottom so that you can be able to start your own print on demand business. It's very easy to do. And if you're not that creative with designs, there's all this AI technology out there. If you have an idea in your head and you just don't know how to actually put it into a design, you can tell AI and it'll do it for you. So I am Nicolette Royal, owner of NRO Company. You can reach me at 702-969-3605. You can text the word print and I'll send you the link, or you can go to my Etsy store. You can also follow me on Instagram at NRO Company. So thank you guys. The key to life is learning lessons and not continuing to repeat them. All right. So I thank you guys so much for pulling up a seat to the table today. I hope that this was beneficial for you. And if you know somebody who needs to hear this, go ahead and share it with them. Make sure that you subscribe, you hit that subscribe button. And you like this, go ahead and comment too. Share me your red flags as well. And if you are someone, again, that's interested in starting your own podcast, make sure you go ahead and check out those links below on how you can do that. In the meantime, I will see you guys in the next episode. You guys have a blessed one, and thank you so much for tuning in.